Hello. Welcome to another episode of the Jim Kleiber Show. Today it is just me, Jim Kleiber, unless somebody magically stumbles upon the episode and wants to join. But no Caleb Cliff today. Just going to be me, and wanted to talk about a topic that I've been thinking about a lot over the last couple weeks. And it's more of a metaphor for how I'm starting to look at the election and how I'm starting to look at the president in general and the role that the president plays. So I think very often at least I have looked at the president as almost like the star player. I've been looking for the Michael Jordan, the Tiger Woods, the almost athlete that just blows everyone else out of the water. The one that's going to come in and be an incredible speaker, be an incredible decision maker, be incredibly kind and loving towards people, be very good at listening, be very good at managing a very large organization, and just the superstar, basically. And so in a lot of the previous elections, and even this one, I've felt let down. I look for that perfect candidate who is going to solve all of the woes and problems that I have in my life and that I think other people in the US have. And I haven't been able to find it. I always seem to find something wrong with them or something that doesn't seem right. Some weakness that they have that I wish they didn't have. Some tick that they have that drives me in a different direction, and it makes me a little annoyed instead of hopeful. And then so I started thinking about Biden as the candidate for the Democratic side. And when I think about it, I don't see him as the superstar. Maybe, if he were the superstar, maybe he's a little bit past his prime. And I don't say this in a demeaning way. More in just looking at it from the certain skills or talents that I want in a superstar. But then I started to pull back and I started to think, maybe it's not about having the superstar individual. Maybe it's about the team. And I remember somebody saying to me, probably in the last year or so, that politics is a team sport. It's not an individual sport. And when I think about the role that Joe Biden could play, like if we were imagining like a basketball team, he's not the center. I don't think he's the point guard, maybe not the shooting guard. I see Joe Biden being the coach. And the more that I played with this metaphor, the metaphor of having a coach, almost like a coach in chief instead of the main superstar, it resonated a lot with me. Because I grew up playing a lot of sports. I played football, basketball, baseball, soccer, some hockey. And while I was on many, many talented teams, the difference seemed to be, between doing very well or not performing well at all, seemed to be the coach and how the coach brought us together and helped us deal with our differences and leverage our strengths and cover up for each other's weaknesses. And when I think about what's going on in the US right now, that's what I think we've been missing. We don't really have a coach. We don't have someone who's at the top trying to coordinate people from all different backgrounds and say, listen, I know you're really good at this and you're not so good at this. And then we got this other player that's really good at this and not so good at this. You need to work together because your strengths combined can really push this nation forward. We don't seem to have that. We seem to have a president who wants to be the star player. He wants to be the captain of the team. And at least from my perspective, seems to be taking the ball from the other players on his team. If you look at, we can explore this on multiple levels, but just one level being the team as the government. If you look at a lot of the other players on the government team, many of them have left. Now, you can argue some of them have been fired and kicked out, but regardless, there's been I would say, very high turnover of the team players within that organization. And even if they don't leave, they can get denigrated. So if you look at Trump as the star player, it's the captain. When somebody disagrees with the play that he did, comes in and says that you're a horrible person, you're such a bad player, we never wanted you on this team, why were you ever on this team? Just for questioning a certain play that he did or certain move that he did in one part of the game, not even questioning the whole game. And I've been on teams like that where it frustrates me, it deflates me so much, and deflates the whole team in many ways. On a side note, there was a study that was done, I believe at Google, looking at what makes teams function very well. And the main factor that they came out with was something that they called psychological safety. They looked through a lot of the research and through their own research and found out that psychological safety was pretty much the number one factor for whether a team performed well or not. And psychological safety being whether people feel safe on the team, whether they feel safe to explore new things, whether to feel safe to open up and communicate what's going on, whether they feel safe to take risks, whether they just feel safe in the environment, not like they're going to get attacked or blamed or excommunicated or shamed or ignored or whatever thing can happen when somebody speaks out and other people don't like it. And so when I think about the team that's currently happening right now, it doesn't feel like a team at the government level. But then when I expand it to the country level, it doesn't feel like we're on a team either. It feels like we have all these different players going in different directions, running around, no coordination on how to achieve our goals. And I pull back and I look at Biden and I go, Biden may not be the star player, but I'm sure he would make one hell of a coach. I see Biden coming in and bringing in many people into his cabinet and onto his government team from different backgrounds, different strengths, different attitudes, different perspectives, different weaknesses, different goals in life, and doing a pretty darn good job at stitching those people together. And I think that's what we need. I think that's what I want. I really want someone to bring this country together and bring this team together. And if I look at the US and talk about if this were a team, if we were one team, and we're playing in a game right now against COVID, it's halftime and we're getting our ass kicked. There's no doubt about it compared to how the other teams around the world are handling this situation. COVID's running up the score on us, and we're not doing much to come together to resolve it. We have plenty of talent in this country. I've read many things saying that arguably the US has the most talent in the world to resolve a crisis like this. In terms of logistics, in terms of healthcare research, in terms of epidemiology, in terms of, frankly, money, in terms of economy, in terms of many things, we have so much talent to be able to resolve a crisis like this. It just doesn't seem like we have the coordination. And some problems don't require coordination. Some problems can be solved in more self-organizing way. But to me, it just seems like this problem requires so much top-down coordination, making sure that people are working together, making sure that if we're trying to go and get testing equipment, we buy it together so that we get the benefit of collective bargaining. If more people are buying, we can get it at a cheaper price. It just seems like we're not having that team energy. And it's halftime. It may get worse. It's most likely going to get worse when we all start going indoors in the fall and into the winter. And so for me, it's just, I like this metaphor. I really like this metaphor of Coach Biden. The guy who's going to go in there, he's older in his years. He's seen a lot. He's got a lot of wisdom in many ways. He's not as quick as some of the youngsters. He can't jump as high as some of the other people. But what he can do is he can bring the people together, leverage our strengths, build that camaraderie, and what would I say? Give us a fighting chance. Something that's bothered me so much over the years is being on a team with so much talent and then just watching it just squander because we can't get it together. We're not the underdog. If you look at the U.S., we were expected to win. That's what I would say. I would say most of the world looked at us as the reigning champions, as the what do you call it? The favorite to win the game. We have the skills. We have the resources. We have the ability, like for a team, like we have the ability to train. We have the ability to practice. We have the ability to do so much more than many other nations do. And yet it just doesn't seem we're marching to the same beat. It doesn't seem like we're even going in the same direction on the field. Some people are taking off their jerseys. Other people are sitting down. Other people are punching their own players. Other people are, what else are we doing? We're blaming each other when a goal goes in instead of trying to unite together to score the next one. It's just so much. Almost every man for himself versus the strong team cooperation that brings teams, organizations, nations together. And so when I continue to watch the Democratic National Convention, I am going to try to imagine Joe Biden not as the Michael Jordan of the team, but as the Phil Jackson, as almost the Zen Buddhist teacher who comes in not trying to take the spotlight, not trying to be on the highlight reel, but trying to have other people be on the highlight reel, trying to stitch together the best players that he possibly can, and the ones that are on his team, whether he wants them to be or not, and make it work. Usher in the new generation, build the team for the future. And I see him doing that better than anyone else who ran on the Democratic side or the Republican side this year. I see him having these unique skills of getting along with almost everyone, not necessarily agreeing with them, and surely and not letting them and not giving in to them, not agreeing with them, but also not giving in to them, and yet still having an amicable relationship with these people. I listened to the story about him and John McCain yesterday and how on the Senate floor they would fight back and forth. But then afterward would go out for dinner. That. It's the coach who understands that I'm going to fight with my players, but at the end of the day, we're all in this together and we need each other. And is going to do what he best can to bring people together. It's just... especially in a time when we don't have so many sports going on, I think it's easy to forget just how important a coach can be. It's hard. It's hard to coach. It's hard to stand there and rearrange players and rearrange plays that you're going to do and come up with different strategies and try to win together. In many ways, especially for me, it's much easier just to try to do it myself. I'm just going to do it myself, and whatever, other people do, I don't really care. But we can't do that at a government level. How do we have someone run the government and say, okay, everybody can do what they want to do? And what's the point of the government? Isn't the point of the government to coordinate resources, to coordinate products and services for the individuals of society? Isn't a government really just people coming together, agreeing on the rules of how they want to interact, and giving money to some other people of that group to come up with products and services for the people in the group? Aren't we all, just like what we talked about yesterday with Caleb, is we seem to perceive that citizens and government are separate. Government is run by citizens. It's our money. All they do is they just hold and collect our money and then redistribute it in different ways. So, I don't know. I think I'm tired of looking at the presidency as an individual sport. Looking for the superstar. I want to look for the coach. I want to look for the general manager. I want to look for the one who brings the team together, because it's a team effort. The U.S. government, the federal government, has, I don't know how many employees. I'm sure it's over 1 or 2 million employees, all things considered. That's a huge organization. I don't want somebody who's at the top thinking that he can do it alone or she can do it alone. They can't. There's no way. There's no way that one person understands how to do mediation and command a military and show up to funerals and cemeteries and grieve with people who've lost loved ones and write policy and give compelling speeches and understand tax code and tax implication and understand the free market economy and understand epidemiology and understand, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's no way that one person can do that. There's no way. There's no person. John Dickerson, a reporter, a journalist for CBS, wrote a book recently called, I think it's called The Hardest Job in the World, talking about the U.S. presidency. And he's basically saying that over time it has become more and more difficult, larger, and uncontrollable for people to do. There's just too many things that one is responsible for and too many areas that one needs to know about to do it by oneself. So I feel really confident when I think about it as a coach, as the one that's stitching together all the players and bringing this team back together and pushing forward. Because if we're not coordinated, we're not going to win. We're going to humiliate ourselves out there. We're going to have the players fighting over to shoot the ball and people, it looks really bad when the teammates are fighting with each other. The other team gets really confused. Why are they fighting with each other? Like, aren't they supposed to fight against us? This doesn't make any sense. So, yeah, so that's my pitch. My pitch is to start looking at this differently. Maybe it doesn't resonate with you, but I'm sure for some of you, this will really resonate. It's something about the coaches. There's the efficiency in making the team better, but there's also there's something really tender and something really deep when it comes to thinking about a coach. For all of those of you who've played before, whether it was football or baseball or swimming or really any type of sport, especially the team sports, that coach can hold a very special place in our hearts. even if they don't help us win the game. I had a coach in high school, football coach of mine, and named Coach Walker. He was a football coach for many years, and honestly, we didn't play that well. We didn't win that many games. We had a lot of talent. We didn't win that many games. And I carried a lot of frustration and anger that, the football team, but also my basketball team, very similar. We had a lot of talent, but we didn't win a lot of games. I carried so much frustration around this as, I just wish he would have pushed us harder and made us into a better team. And recently he passed away. Must have been last year. So I went to his funeral. Luckily I was at home during the time. So I went to his funeral and I saw a lot of the old players and old coaches that I haven't seen in, 17 years now? Oof. And, I almost forgot about how much we didn't win. I just looked at the guys, and even now I get tears in my eyes just thinking about how much that man impacted my life. He was like a father figure to me. We went through some tough times in the football locker room and on the field, and there were fights on the team, and there were some people that wanted to get all the attention, and others who didn't, and we all go through different personal struggles. This is high school, remember? And to just have him there caring about me and the other guys, that's what I want. I just want, even if we don't win, I just want to know that I look up and I see somebody who cares about me and somebody who's looking out for me and for the other guys and girls and of all ages, because winning isn't everything. I would rather lose together than win alone. And especially after watching the Democratic National Convention last night, I don't know if Biden is the one who's going to stitch together and help this country win, whatever winning means in that context. But I think he's going to care. And sometimes it's the hardest thing to ask for. Someone just to be there with you even when you lose. That's it. God, I just want someone to be there with me and to be there with us if we were to lose. But I want them to be there too if we win. God, the wins that we had in football, they were glorious. The moments I remember, we went like one season. This was freshman year. I think we went 3 or 4 or 5 games without even scoring. When we had that first touchdown, I think it was up at the school just north of us in Rochester. I think when we had that touchdown, we were so excited. We were so excited. Gosh. I don't want someone who turns on me when it looks like we're starting to lose. I want somebody who pulls me closer. It says we're going to get through this together. even if it doesn't go the way we want it to. Oh, I didn't expect in the third episode I'd already be crying, staring into the camera, talking by myself. But here we are, 25 minutes in. And I'm sure many other people haven't had these same experiences. They haven't played on the high school football team, or maybe they were on teams, but they didn't have a coach who cared about them, or they didn't have a coach who they thought cared about them. Because I think almost all coaches do care, but I think more than anything, it's the perception of whether they care or not, thinking that they care about us. And I once, it sounds really, it may sound a bit weird or a bit strange to hear this. But I want a coach who will comfort me. I want a coach who will cry with me. I want a coach who will be there. And I want the same thing in a president. And I think it can happen. I can see it. Coach Biden coming in at halftime, just going into the fall, going into the winter, and starting a new year, 2021. And so many of us wanting to put 2020 behind us. We're tired of the first half. This is a 2-year game. We're tired of this first half. We want it to end. We can't wait to go into the locker room. We just want people's eyes to stop looking at us. We want the world to stop paying attention to us. We just want to go hunker down in the locker room. We want to slam our fists against the wall and beat the lockers and throw the chalkboard or whiteboard and regroup. We want to regroup. We want to look at our strategies and say, this is not working. We need to do something if we want to win this game. Because what we're doing right now is not working, and we're humiliating ourselves out there. I think it's fair to say that most of us, regardless of our political views, would agree that what's going on right now is not working, that we're not winning the game. And I want to slow down, go into the locker room after doing all that beating on the lockers and stuff. Just kind of breathe, taking some water, and start strong in the second half. And show the virus and show the world that we're not going to take this lying down. We're not going to get divided. We're going to come together and we're going to start playing as a team. Because if we play as a team, we can win this game. So, I don't know if this helped you at all. I am grateful that I did this because it helped me articulate why I care so much about this country, our government, and who we elect in office. I believe Donald Trump has a lot of skills. A lot of other people, some people don't think he does or doesn't think he has talents. I think he has some very strong talents. I think he's very good at sales. I think he's very good at selling a dream to certain audiences. I think he has a role. I just don't think that role is the president, or how I see it. I see the president now as being the coach, as the one that's stitching together the secretaries and the different cabinet positions, stitching together the government, stitching together the states, stitching together the citizens, and ultimately as the US president, leading the world together, stitching this world back together so that we can resolve problems that require teamwork. All right. I'm going to end at 30 minutes because it's 30 minutes. I hope that helps some of you. I know it's helped me, and I look forward to your feedback and comments. Talk to you soon.